I realized something yesterday. I was doing some thinking, and unfortunately, it's a sad realization, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers haven't won a Super Bowl in a long damn time. I don't know if it's just me or if it's like other millennial Steeler fans, but it feels like our last Super Bowl victory in 2008 was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? We win Super Bowls. It's kind of what we do, but we haven't won in 16 years, 2008. Now it's 2024. And we're creeping up on just a Super Bowl appearance drought, being close to what we dealt with back in the 70s. And then whenever we made our reappearance back in the mid-90s. Like after the Terry Bradshaw Steel Curtain era and everything, after we won that Super Bowl in 79/80, we went on a drought for a minute. And I know those were tough times. It was like a no man's land for Steelers offense. We couldn't replace Terry Bradshaw. The offense looked anemic. I know a lot of you guys gave the warning signs after Ben retired. A lot of you guys that lived through it were like, this could be tough. Franchise quarterbacks don't grow on trees. And that's what I also tried to warn people before they ran Big Ben out of town. I was like, listen, we got to witness a legit Hall of Fame franchise quarterback over the last 18 years here who kept us relevant season in, season out. Let's not take that for granted. And you guys tried to talk about, what that looked like, those that lived through the 80s and the 90s. And I don't know if we were fully prepared. I really don't. These last two just haven't been it in terms of trying to get back to our winning ways. Now, hopefully, this year is the turnaround year with Russ and getting this new coordinator in here and everything. But it just got me thinking, man. Like we're getting close. We are getting close to that Super Bowl appearance drought because it was 1980 when we technically won the Super Bowl with Terry Bradshaw, the last of the four from that 70s era, and then it was 96 when we lost against the Cowboys. So that's 16 years. Right now, if you're talking about Super Bowl appearances, we're 2011 to 2024. So that's 13. We're creeping up on 16. We're not all the way there in terms of the Super Bowl victory drought because, damn, that would be 1980 all the way up to 2005, right? 2005, 2006 when Cowher and that team won against the Seahawks. So that's, 25, 26 years. So we're not completely there just yet, but we're getting close to that Super Bowl appearance drought that we had going back with Bradshaw and them, and then that 90s team that made it against the Cowboys. Like, that's crazy. I'm just putting that all into context for you because, again, it doesn't seem like it's been that long. It doesn't seem like that Packers Super Bowl was 13 years ago. It doesn't seem like our Super Bowl victory against the Cardinals, Super Bowl 43, was 16 years ago. Like, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. So I didn't mean to start this show off on a down note like that. Like, completely. It's just interesting, man. Like, it's just putting some things into context for Steeler fans out there. Maybe I did unfortunately start this show off on a downswing, but there you go. It was just something on my mind. Now let's get into, there's really no news right now. We had the Brandon Ayuk trade request yesterday. So instead of trying to grasp at straws and talk about some nonsense, let's get into training camp predictions. Training camp's coming up next week. I got about 3, 4, maybe even 5 things that I'm going to predict happen with this Steelers team and this Steelers roster. And some of them do have to do with yesterday and what we talked about with Ayuk. So let's just get into that. My prediction is we don't trade for Ayuk. I think we should. Obviously, we should have interest because Ayuk is really good. I think he would fit this team really well. But I got this feeling that he's going to go for a higher price than what we want to pay for. And our wide receiver group just will sort itself out. I think Pickens is going to elevate. I think he's going to step up. And then the combination of Roman Wilson, Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, Quez Watkins, Scotty Miller, I think we're going to find something out of that group. Something's going to emerge, and we're going to have our top 3 or 4 guys in this receiver room, and we're going to feel good about it going into the season. That's my prediction. I don't think we're going to have any grand or big moves at receiver. Now with corner, I do think we might sign a corner, but I don't think it's going to be a big move because I got this feeling Corey Trice and Darius Rush is going to stand out in training camp. So that'll leave us with a solid top 4 cornerbacks with JPJ, Dante Jackson, Corey Trice, and Darius Rush. Now, all 4 of those guys are primarily outside. We've been getting some hints or hearing some rumors that Darius Rush could bump to the inside, but those guys are predominantly outside. So if we do sign a corner, obviously Cam Sutton, he's suspended for 8 games. He's still on the roster. Like, he will be most likely our solution at that position for later in the season. But I think we're either going to roll with like a Beanie Bishop, a Josiah Scott, or a Graylin Arnold. Like, one of those guys will step up enough for us to put faith in them being our slot corner heading into week 1. Or we're just going to pick up a Chandon Sullivan or maybe bring back up Pat P. Because if you look at historically, over the last 3 or 4 seasons, we haven't been investing into slot cornerback that much. We've gotten an Arthur Maulet on a 1-year deal. We've gotten a Chandon Sullivan on a 1-year deal. And let's be honest, it's kind of worked out. Those guys haven't been bad for us at all. So I think the Steelers will take that approach. If a Corey Trice, a Darius Rush, obviously we have a JPJ and Dante Jackson as our other top 2 guys. If we have those 4 guys slotted already, I don't think we go out of our way to sign a big-name corner like a Stephon Gilmore or have a reunion with an Ahkello Witherspoon or anything. I think we're going to lean more on the youth there, and then specifically in terms of slot corner, we have Cam Sutton for the latter half of the season, and then who knows, maybe one of these guys in-house, one of these more unknown guys, these more uncertain guys, and a Beanie Bishop, Graylin Arnold, or Josiah Scott step up. But if not, I think we send out a cheap contract for a Chandon Sullivan or a Pat P. So I'm not expecting any big moves at corner, but if we do, it's just going to be a cheap deal for a Chandon Sullivan, 1-year deal, whatever it is. Next prediction. This one's pretty simple. I don't really need to explain this too much. I think Russell Wilson looks the part. He's going to get glowing reviews throughout training camp. And that should be expected. Dude's been in the league for how long? Dude's a Hall of Famer. Dude knows how to practice. So he's going to look the part. I think all the stuff we've heard about Russ from OTAs and from the early portion of this offseason is just going to continue into training camp. And then I also think you're going to get good reports on Fields, but then you're going to get some reports on inconsistency. I just think Fields is Fields. Justin Fields is Justin Fields. Some of those headlines that we saw about Justin Fields in regards to OTAs, I think that's just what he is right now. He's a wow athlete. He is going to make some plays or make some throws that only he and a handful of others can make in the league, but he's got some inconsistency with footwork and accuracy and that type of stuff, and that's why he's in the position he is right now, and it is what it is. That doesn't mean he can't develop and be something greater down the line, but I'm not expecting this grand leap from the Fields that we saw last year, or at least throughout his first 3 years with the Bears, in this just one little training camp or offseason period on a new team. And then my last prediction, so I guess I only have 4. I thought I would maybe have 5. My last prediction has to do with the Steelers' offensive tackle situation. Now, we've got some reports earlier. It was probably a month ago saying that Dan Moore is slotted to move over to right and compete with Troy Fautano at right tackle, and Broderick Jones is going to be left. But now I'm seeing some stuff that, yeah, there's no chance Dan Moore is going to compete at right tackle. He's going to be over at left. And Fautanu starting is just going to depend on how he looks over. Like, if he looks good enough to start at right, then we'll slot him in there. And it's going to be a Broderick Jones and Dan Moore competition over at left. But if Fautanu doesn't look ready, it's going to be Broderick Jones and Fautanu competing out over at right, and most likely Broderick Jones winning that. I got a feeling that, yeah, what I just said is going to be the case. I think Dan Moore is going to get work over at left tackle, and it's going to be Broderick Jones over at right, and Fautanu getting snaps over at right too. To my dismay, I'm not thrilled about that, but I think that's going to be the first unit we see coming out in training camp, because that's what it was in OTAs. So I expect the same thing. I don't think they're going to give anything to the rookie like that. I don't think they're just going to give him the starting spot and make the veterans compete over on the left side. But I think there is something to Dan Moore starting at left tackle these 3 years and being a starting left tackle in college for 4 years. Like, I don't think the Steelers are just going to move Dan Moore over to right like that. Whereas they got to see Broderick Jones play right tackle last year and play good. So I think they're going to keep him over at right, at least to start training camp, see how the rookie does. If Fautanu is excelling and he's neck and neck with a Broderick Jones, maybe they're like, all right, he's ready to go. Let's start him at right, get Broderick Jones over to left, and we'll have a more elite left tackle competition with Broderick Jones and Dan Moore. May the best man win there. Although, as I'm saying this, that doesn't, like, Broderick Jones is starting. I don't think he's starting, period, this year. I think Broderick Jones is starting either left side or right side. So as I'm saying competition, I don't know how competitive, I don't know how fair the competition will be for whatever side Broderick Jones is competing on. I'll put it to you that way. I think he's going to start. He needs to start, because he could be literally a top 5 offensive tackle this upcoming season. Like, we got to see his floor already, his rookie year, and it's pretty damn good. There was some inconsistency, but you're going to see that from a rookie. Going into year 2, him, just like JPJ on defense, has a chance to be elite at their respective positions. So I think Broderick Jones is playing. He's going to start one way or another. But, yeah, I do got this feeling we're going to have Dan Moore getting the first snaps over at left tackle, and it's going to be Broderick Jones and Fautanu at right. I don't like that. I don't feel like it makes sense, but that's my prediction. These are training camp predictions. Let me know your predictions down in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed this edition of Talking Steelers, because I can't say Big Deke News. This isn't the Big Deke News format, but yeah, hope you enjoyed on a Wednesday. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your bold predictions, any predictions for training camp down in the comments below. Stay chilling. Peace.